Okay, we're live. Welcome, everybody. It's Eric Thompson with Subtle Energy Sciences here. Tonight, we are on our third of a series where we're going to be basically every other week on a Wednesday night at 9 o'clock Eastern Time here in the U.S. We're going to be doing a live meditation featuring the Subtle Energy technology. And afterwards, we'll do a nice Q&A session, answer any questions you have. And we'll usually have an announcement. Tonight we have a pretty cool announcement at the end of the event, so just hang in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an opening to change meditation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a screen share here right now, and I am going to put on an energetically encoded picture here, which you should be seeing on your screen now. And basically what I'd like you to do tonight is I'd like you to just go ahead and get comfortable, okay? Make sure wherever you're sitting that you're nice and comfortable, that you're not going to be disturbed for a little while, and make sure you go ahead and turn your phone off, turn any noises down around you if you can. If you got some nice pillows that make you feel comfy, if you want to have your cat on your lap, just get nice and comfortable. I'm going to ask you to sit upright and just close your eyes, okay? And we're going to go on a little journey. So it's going to be sort of a meditation, a guided meditation and a combination of a teaching as well. So just lay back, allow my voice to guide you. And as you're relaxing, just allow your eyes, while they're closed, allow them to rest at that point just between the eyebrows that we talked about during our last meditation here 2 weeks ago. And if you were here, you know that you don't have to you don't have to try too hard around this area. Just allow your eyes to rest in that natural place where it seems most natural and comfortable at the point between the eyebrows, and just allow everything that I'm saying, my voice, to come in and out of this area between the eyebrows. And as you breathe in and breathe out, just imagine your breathing to go in and out of this area between the eyebrows here. This is going to be our little energetic point where we sort of turn on the energetic power button of our energetic systems here and really get the energy flowing tonight. And really, I just want this whole meditation for all of us just to be yin, okay? No effort here, okay? So you can just imagine that you're relaxing on a pure cloud of just bliss, pure acceptance, pure love. Just imagine that the most perfect, effortless cloud of pure acceptance, that you're floating on it, and that everything is just as it needs to be. You're perfectly safe. You don't need to effort. You don't need to struggle with your mind tonight. Just sit back and relax. Let me do all the work for you, okay? And so rather than trying to be meditated tonight, just see if you can allow yourself, or trying to meditate, rather than trying to effort and control your mind, just see if you can allow yourself to be meditated, okay? So tonight I'll be leading you on a meditation about opening to change. And what we want to do tonight is we want to direct our attention and connect with that true source of power within. Each of us, I think we all know what it's like to feel connected at times. Many of us probably have a spiritual practice. And so we know what it's like to really experience ourselves as living really on purpose, as being in that flow and being in that connection and really beginning to fulfill more of our highest potential. But you know, then there are times when we start getting a little disconnected. Maybe we're not meditating as often, or we're not doing whatever we normally do that allows us to enter back into that conscious connection with our own indwelling spirit. Maybe this is because we're experiencing family problems, maybe business problems, money problems, relationship problems, health problems, and so on. And, sometimes it can just be really easy to go into panic mode because something in our life isn't showing up the way we thought it should. So our mind can become very invested and very rigid around an outcome, especially if it isn't showing up the way we'd like it to. And it can be sometimes easy to stray from this inner voice of our own indwelling spirit that's really been guiding us and has been the source for us whenever we've been in those most momentous times of flow and prosperity and really living on purpose. So it's easy to stray from that inner voice at times. And, if you think about it, this is really kind of what's happening in the world today all around us, in Palestine and Israel. People aren't listening to their inner guidance. People are being ruled by their minds and emotions. And they're essentially being taken over by this whole mental and emotional projection that's going inside their minds. Sometimes it's just easy for us to stray from that conscious connection with spirit. That's why having a spiritual practice and having, even technology like this that can help us more easily connect, that's why it can be so important. But interestingly, we often stray from this conscious connection really when we're right on the verge of our biggest breakthroughs. And sometimes it can be easy to stray from this connection and even begin living from our minds rather than our spirit. And really, if you think about it, if you look at the market right now, stock prices, market economies, everything that's going on around us, it's often based on these emotional reactions and projections that are going on in the minds of people all around us. But there's one thing that never changes, and that's that already awakened, already enlightened spirit awareness that you and I already are. And so let's just intend to connect with that part of us that's already awake, that's already enlightened, and that is gently guiding us to be more flowing and more open and more creative with the change that's going on in us, through us, and around us. In truth, our spirit is perfectly A-OK. It's perfect. And if we aren't feeling okay, it's really just because we're just not consciously connected to our own indwelling spirit. We're not allowing that indwelling spirit to be the guiding presence over our minds. Often it's very easy to be ruled by our minds and emotions. Or sometimes what happens is our mind puts its attention on the very thing that we don't want, on the things that don't seem okay. And so that's what gets our attention, and that ends up being what we give our energy to. And it can be all too easy to keep going that way and until everything just starts to get out of proportion, and we start to lose perspective. So what I'd like to do tonight is I'd really like to just all of us come together with this collective intention that we're just going to allow everything to come back into perspective. So let's just relax tonight and let's get a little high. Let's get high on God. Why not? I want to thank each of you for being here tonight because the energy that we all share, it helps every one of us. Your presence here is important. And what I hope that this company is, what I hope that this particular webinar and this service is, I hope that we can conduct an energy that will be uplifting for all of you and for all of us, because I know a lot of you who are on this line are probably involved in the lives of other people. You're trying to help people. You might even be a teacher And so you're putting energy out there to help other people. And no matter what you're doing, you're really always putting energy out for other people. And that's really why we're here. So I can see that a part of my role is as a conductor. And if you think about it, we're all kind of resonating together, even in this moment, like an orchestra. And there's this collective vibration that we're all emitting. And when that vibration is harmonious, when it's really in sync and we're in sync with one another, it's beautiful. It's really wonderful. But when it gets off, um, and it doesn't sound so good, and it doesn't feel so good, sometimes that can be part of what's causing us to get out of sync in our lives. So what I want to do tonight is I want to start to conduct an energy tonight, invite you all to just join in with me, join in with that spirit, join in with this energy, as your spirit naturally does anyway. So what we see right now going all around us, and it seems like it's happening more and more each year as we progress in time, there's just a lot of change in the air. And, it's easy for the mind to resist change because it fears change. It fears change because, that sense of not knowing, that's really what, the mind is afraid of. It tries to control things because it really doesn't know what's going to happen. And so this resistance often keeps us from entering into the kingdom of heaven within us, which is our own indwelling spirit. This is the place where we can rest, we can find new inspiration, and where we can discover new possibilities. So this subject reminds me of a Bible verse in which it says, God is able to work all things to the good of those who love him. And really, whether you're a Christian, an atheist, or whatever your stance is, the message here really is just saying that no matter what's going on around you, no matter how tumultuous change might seem to be, if you choose to be in love, to remain in love, to be love, and if you choose to keep seeking the true meaning of what it means to embody love, and if you choose to see everything that's happening to you through the eyes of love, you'll begin to peer into that realm of possibility, the kingdom of heaven within, that accompanies what may at first appear to be very disruptive. So in other words, when we choose to acknowledge that the universe is for us, and we just stick with that, we know it. We don't buy into the illusion that the world's out to get us and destroy us. If we can just acknowledge that the universe is really for us, no matter what's happening around us, this really means that our faith in the love that God has for us, that Spirit has for us, that faith in God's love for us allows us to see the greater possibilities that arise in the face of challenging times. And this is it's not a faith based on blind faith. It's a base faith on experience. You say, yes, I trust that whatever's happening around me is working for my greater good. I choose to allow that to be the case, and I act on it. And the more I act on it, the more I realize that's what really the case is. And so it's a faith based on experience, based on putting myself out there and doing love, being love, trusting in love. And this conscious choice to remain rooted and grounded in this kind of love, it does empower us to actually to allow these changes to work for us and not against us. So, you could liken this kind of to surfing on a wave. I personally have never surfed, but I have watched surfing documentaries. And it seems like when you're first learning how to ride a wave, that they probably at first you're getting pummeled by a lot of waves. The waves are constantly changing, and in truth, they're just energy. And what it seems to be, with these really expert surfers, is that when they begin to recognize the patterns of these waves and they learn how to harness them, what they actually do is they use these waves to propel themselves forward. And it's really just about riding a wave. So you could say something's changing on the ocean of life. Life is not static, it's always changing, like a wave, like the ocean, or some new energy's moving through it. So energy is always moving. Energy particles or waves of energy are moving through the molecular structure and cellular structures of your body. There are waves of energy moving through your mind and emotions as I speak. And energy is moving between you and I right now. So if you're thinking right now, all of these thoughts are in part energy waves moving through the fields of neurons in your brain. The sound of my voice is energy moving through your eardrums and into your nervous system. Change is energy. Energy is change. But, who each one of us really is, that indwelling spirit within, that spirit never changes. It's always steadfast. And that's really our anchor. That's the part of us that we need to be anchoring our mind and our emotions into in order to be able to navigate these waves of change going on through us, in us, and around us. And when we learn to stay connected to our indwelling and guiding spirit, we can harness the energy of change. We can go with the flow. We can be the cosmic surfer, dude. Know what I mean, bruh? I think the Tao Te Ching, or the Tao Te Ching, excuse me, and Bruce Lee got it right when they said, "Be water, my friend." So I just invite you to allow yourself to be in the flow right now. Just allow yourself to be the flow. Harness the flow. And the flow will take you where you've never been before. And when you're in this flow, something really beautiful happens. And you can see that your whole life experience is a kind of dance. Your whole life is a really kind of learning how to dance. You might even think of it as Shiva's dance. Creating new opportunities, destroying old patterns. New life and expressions keep coming and going. But there's one other thing that never changes, and that's change itself. It's a constant. When I first started Subtle Energy Sciences, I originally intended to develop a flagship meditation product called Digital Shakti Pot that many of you know about. And what my mind did was basically solidify this idea that, this is going to be the basic plan. This is how it's going to be. And I was going to launch this company, and Digital Shakti Pot was going to be the center of all of our marketing here at Subtle Energy Sciences. And things just didn't go the way I had imagined. The money started running short very quickly for R&D before I'd even launched the company. Digital Shakti Pot was proving to be very difficult to develop, very elusive. And as a result, and because my mind had become rigidly attached to this plan, it seemed for a while that Subtle Energy Sciences might fail before it had even begun. And one of the most important things I began to really learn was to be open to this kind of change, to just let go of what I thought things should be and how they ought to be. And as a result, what we really have right now, I think, we just have some beautiful, exciting new projects that are coming ahead. And Digital Shakti Pot is still yet to come, but I have no doubt that it will eventually come in its perfect time. And when it does, it's going to be awesome, But right now, I think there just are these other programs that need to come first, and they're ready to come into existence. before Digital Shaktipat's perfect time has come. So I've just learned to not only be okay with that, I really see this greater possibility inherent in this unfolding. I really feel a greater freedom unfolding, and just allowing Digital Shaktipat to come forward when it's absolutely ready. And I have no doubt it's going to come, you know. And so now I have all this creativity and inspiration moving through me every day. And it wouldn't have been there. It wouldn't have even seen the light of day if I hadn't been willing to let go of how I thought things ought to be. And it was really just a matter of getting out of my head and reconnecting with my indwelling spirit, that source, that spring of inspiration within. In fact, if I had stayed with the original plan that I had 6 years ago, over 6 years ago, I'd still be in college right now studying to earn a doctoral degree in transpersonal psychology. I went back to college at nearly the age of 40, and I transferred to Europa University on a full scholarship. And for various reasons having nothing to do with my academic ability, in fact, I was kind of bored with the curriculum at the time, but for various reasons I won't go into here, I chose to drop out of college, and at the time it seemed like this horrible failure on my part. And I was really still quite susceptible to depression back in those days, because really up to that point, every year of my adult life I'd experienced a bout of major depression. And so I spent quite some time in a state of almost total despair, months and months and months. But what was interesting is, because of all of that inspired energy I had put out into the world before that happened, where I was developing and researching my own system of brainwave entrainment. I was doing scientific studies on the subject. I was creating experimental programs and sending out to my friends and colleagues. And because I had done all that work before I entered into that depression, and because all of that work was inspired, it really came out of a profound state of inspiration. Really what this did was this started to create a movement of energy, so that my associates, without my even knowing it, while I was in a deep state of depression, they were out there telling other people about my work. And they were, networking and meeting new people and saying great things about my work. And the next thing I know, I have people coming, knocking on my door and saying, "Hey, I want to start a company with you." And so out of a profound state of depression was born iAwake Technologies. And as you all know, that still is a really great company, and we did a lot of great things there. And while I was involved with that company, I began doing my more intense research into this subtle energy technology that we have here. And that led me to become fascinated with this technology, and you're experiencing this technology in this very moment. And so right now I'm at a place where I love my life. I'm confident that even greater things are yet in store. And what I'd really like to help all of us to recognize first and foremost is that whatever changes are happening in our lives right now, no matter what they seem like, please, please just allow yourself to entertain this idea that all of these changes are working for your greater good. They really are. All you have to do is allow them to. The box that your mind creates, it's just a comfort zone. And whenever we come to the edge of that zone and we come to the edge of our own potential, often what happens is we start to feel fear, because we're starting to move past our comfort zone. And that's why changes can seem so threatening. But the key is to embrace them. Just relax and let go, and to trust. Changes bring about a greater good. They really do help you to learn to grow and to evolve and to realize your full potential, and ultimately feel more fulfilled and more at peace if you allow them to. So I just invite you to take a deep breath in, and as you breathe out, just let go of how you think it has to be, or how it has to happen, or what you think you need. Because sometimes what you're going to be receiving is so much greater than you can imagine. So, with your eyes closed and resting at the point between the eyebrows, just see yourself riding this current, riding this change, riding this wave that's moving through your life, and knowing that you're being guided to create new opportunities, more abundance, more prosperity, more happiness, more peace. This and so much more is coming your way. God's not holding back anything from you. You know, it's interesting. One of my favorite verses from the New Testament is when Jesus says, "Know ye not that it is your heavenly Father's pleasure to give you the kingdom?" It's there before us. We aren't seeing it. So just let go of the fear factor and realize that this sense of fear is really just being created by our mind. It's your mind's creating it. It's just a projection of what you don't want. So most people are running from that fear like they're being chased by a shadow. There was a famous novel that came out in the 60s called A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula Le Guin, in which this wizard uh, winds up being chased by a shadow throughout the entire story until he finally decides to face it. And that's really what a lot of us are doing, is we're being chased by our own fears. We're being chased by our own shadows. And the key is to look the shadow in the eye, look the fear in the eye, and embrace it. Embrace it and release it and let it go. So what most people experience as emotional pain and suffering is really just the mind rigidly resisting this fluid energy of change. The mind has created some idea of what it wants and what it has to happen. And because the mind believes that that's what's got to happen, that's what's going to give us security. That's what we've got to have in order to feel safe. So this river of change, this river of energy is sort of pushing on you. And the mind's resistance is what creates pain and suffering. What we feel is often this friction between our minds and our own indwelling spirit trying to guide us. So just breathe in and feel the flow of energy moving in you and around you. And just be in a state of agreement that I'm completely open, I'm completely releasing any and all attachments to the way I think things need to be. And I'm open to receiving abundance. I'm open to receiving fresh and new changes into my life and into every area of my life. I'm open to new relationships. I'm open to changing habits that no longer serve me. I'm open to clearing out any beliefs that don't serve me. I welcome deep change into my life, into my business, into my workplace, into my family relationships, into my relationship with the divine, and into all the places that I haven't been willing or open to change. I allow this fresh new energy to move through me. So just breathe in. And let us, when we breathe out, let us just let go of the doer. Let us just let go of the one that wants, the one that desires, the one that struggles, the one that efforts. And just for this moment, let us imagine that we didn't need anything at all, that we were already completely fulfilled, that nothing was missing, nothing lacking, nothing hurting, just complete and utter fullness, openness, and completeness. Just imagine that your entire body, your entire sense of self, imagine it all dissolved in this very moment. Just imagine that every desire dissolves. Every complaint dissolves. Every perception dissolves into light. And now I invite you to just imagine that your spiritual energy at your root is gently flowing up your spine, up to and through the top of your head, so that your energy is flowing upward and out of the top of your head and back around your body like a fountain of light. Then back up through your root, back up through your spine, out through the top of your head, up and around your head and around your body like a fountain of light, like a giant torus of light. And just feel that energy flowing up through you, through your crown, and over and around you. Just imagine it taking with it all your resistance, all your rigidity, everything in you that's inhibited positive change in your life. Just imagine all of that being loosened into this flow of light around you. And just allow your attention now to dwell just above your head. As though your awareness were floating a foot or so above your head, like there was a miniature you sitting in perfect lotus position a foot above your head. And just imagine all the tension, all the resistance to change. Imagine it leaving your mind and your body as this energy of light travels up through your crown, over, above, and back around your body like a fountain of light. See this energy, see this field of light in you and around you that is you. See it growing and growing with each inhalation and exhalation. Feel the flow of this energy. Feel the flow of this light. And realize that you are this light. This light is you. Just keep allowing your light to fill the room and to keep growing with each inhalation and exhalation for the next few moments. And now let's just imagine that all of us are joined together in spirit, and all of our fields of light are combining into a giant field of light. I invite you with me to join our intention to release and lose any blocks to growth, any blocks to change, any inhibitions, anything that no longer serves us. Just see the light moving through all of us collectively, our combined light, amplifying the effect. It's one thing when you come into this attention in a profound state of meditation. It's another when we all do it together. It's amplified by many, 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 many times. Just feel that energy flowing through you. Feel your inhibitions. Feel your blocks releasing and flowing out and dissolving. Just be aware of this beautiful light. And so now, if you will, just allow yourself to become aware of this beautiful light floating just above the top of your head. Beautiful golden white light. And now take a breath, and as you do, imagine breathing that light at the top of your head, all the way down through your brain and spine and into your root at the bottom of the spine. And as you exhale, imagine that that light is expanding outward from the center of your spine throughout your entire body and field. And just see your field of light expanding a foot or even several feet into the room. And one more time, let's inhale that light at the top of the head and see that light moving down through the brain, down through the spine, and gently balancing all the energy centers as it works its way down the spine and all the way down into the root at the bottom of the spine. And as you exhale, let all that light out. Let that light that you are expand outward and fill the room. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back to the room. So I'm going to stop sharing that. Okay, so if people would like to unmute themselves, do that. And Joshua, I think I have a few questions already prepped, but when you're ready, Joshua, you can come on and help me take some questions. You there?
Yeah, I'm here, Eric. That was a fantastic meditation.
Oh, great, great. All right. Well, I have two or three questions in preparation already. But if anybody has any questions, Joshua, would you like to give people directions as how to ask their questions?
Sure. It kind of depends where you are, but for those of you on the Hangout, if you want to just unmute yourself, you could ask your question here directly, or you could type it in the chat, or there's a questions thing. If you're watching on YouTube, you can leave a comment on YouTube and below the video, and I'll see it and show it to Eric. And then if you happen to be in the Facebook group, we have a post that Eric made. You could leave a comment there. Once you start to see more comments happening, it kind of becomes obvious that there's some things happening. And how do you get there is if you're on this page. Are you able to see my screen, Eric?
Let me see. No, I don't. I don't see your screen. Wait. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do.
So if you're on the subtle.energy/live page, we put a link where you can actually go to that post on Facebook, and then also if you want to jump in on the video, there's still slots available on the video. You can just click these links, and that will help get your question answered. So there's a few places where you can put them, and we're checking all of them. There is a comment here, Eric. I'm just going to read it real quick. It's from Anthony Harden. He says, "Hi, Eric. It's interesting that you are quoting the Bible so much. The basis being that one actually believes in the written word of the Bible, and really who actually wrote it." That's the only comment that we have so far.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I realize there's a lot of controversy about who wrote the Bible. Again, it's just one of those things. Here's what I go by. Okay. There's a saying, and I've studied all the different theories about. I've studied the most far out theories about who wrote the Bible and who didn't write the Bible and what the Bible teaches and what it doesn't teach it. And obviously, I don't agree with everything that's been written. I've written things on the far right, things on the far left, and things that don't fit anywhere on the map. Are just completely crazy, or seem crazy at first glance. And one of the things I go by is a saying that I'm convinced is absolutely inspired when Jesus said, if you want to find out if my words are true, do them. Do them. I mean, do them and see what happens. And I did. I just put the words to the test, and I started doing them. And what I found is that when I did them, they proved themselves to me. So through revelation and through practical experience and giving me real results. So that's what I've learned to go by. But you're free to believe what you wish. I have certainly no designs on trying to convert anyone into being a traditional Christian by any means. But I just find that, to me, I consider Jesus. My cat just joined us up here on my desk. I consider Jesus to be my Satguru. I mean, I've read the world scriptures, the Upanishads. I've read so many different Hindu scriptures, the Yoga Vasishta, the Yoga Sutras, the Bhagavad Gita. I've read the Buddhist scriptures. I haven't read the Quran, but I've also read the Bible, of course, and many Christian mysticism texts. And for me, and I realize a lot of people out there don't agree with me, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that at all. For me, I find personally that there's a mystery that's hidden in the Christian and Hebrew scriptures that is, to me, the most profound revelation of consciousness, of divinity that I personally have ever seen. And I'm familiar with all these others, I would encourage you to maybe read a book by I'm not sure I can remember his name. I'll recommend this book later. But it's by a gentleman who also was trained in Buddhist meditation and Hindu meditation his entire life. He had done personal training with the Dalai Lama, and he was not by any means an evangelical Christian by any means. And he had what essentially turned out to be kind of a near-death experience, in which he had this vision of Jesus. And it just became clear to him that this being called Jesus was the absolute highest being there is. There was just he had seen Krishna in the spirit before. He had seen other Hindu divinities before in the spirit, and he said, they're all good, but Jesus, he really is the master of the universe, and he really is the ultimate expression of love. And he goes, I'm not a traditional Christian, so I'm not preaching at you. I'm just telling you what I saw. So that's where I come from, and I don't mean for it in any way to offend anyone. But that is often my inspiration. If you find inspiration in that, well, try it on like a coat, see how it feels. Regardless of what the world's telling you, well, this scripture isn't inspired and this one is. It's really up to you. If it offends you, I apologize. But this really is a profound inspiration for me, and I'm just sharing from the heart.
I love it. Fantastic perspective, Eric.
Um, okay, well, I'm going to start with two other questions that was handed to me earlier today by Sharon. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. The first one says, you mentioned in Facebook that Heartwave CD that you created for iWake is not compatible with Heart Activation Mandala. As far as I understood, you create all of these products based on the same principle of subtle energy technology and amplify their energies. You always advise to mix and match different SES products and experiment. So as far as I remember, the only thing you say not to mix was the sleep mandalas. Why is it that that what you created for iWake interferes with SES products? Is there anything else we need to know in terms of mix and match? Really, that was a typo. What I meant to put, Sharon, is that they don't interfere, and I just fixed that typo. Michael, my customer service assistant, pointed that out to me. That's why I had the smiley face next to it. It wasn't supposed to say they interfere with one another. They don't interfere. That's what I meant to write. So yeah, it's really simple. There's nothing to worry about there. Then she asks another question. You've removed products such as Piranha Heart without ever notifying your customers in Facebook, and many people are desperate to know the reason, and you don't respond whatsoever. Okay. First of all, and then she says there was no announcement. This is bad business practice, in my opinion. You keep us in the dark. I'm starting to lose interest in the inconsistency I see in the SES company. Removing products that you yourself loved and not announcing it is very strange. I agree it is very strange, Sharon, and I'm sorry that you're losing interest in our company. I didn't mean in any way to do that, to be disrespectful or mean or spiteful or in any way. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, okay, and I'm also a bit of a mystery, okay. Anyone who knows me knows that I live an intensely private life. If you, I mean, I've done all kinds of personality tests and all that kind of stuff, and every one of them says you're a very private person. You have few. Your friends are few and far between. The ones that are very close to you are friends for life. So I tend to just be a very private person. It's not because I'm just being deceptive. It's just part of this personality that I was born with in this vehicle. And when it comes to Piranha Heart, I mean, this is a great product, and I mean, we get a lot of great testimonials on it. I do love the product, but honestly, I didn't think it was my best heart-centered product. And so I thought, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it. I'm planning to create not a new version of Piranha Heart, but I was going to create a new heart-centered audio product. But it ended up taking me a lot longer than I thought. So I thought, well, I'm just going to take this off the market, and then I'll come out with this, because I'm just so perfectionist that I always want to have what I feel is my best work available online. And it's not that there's anything wrong with Piranha Heart. It's a great product. It really is. I'm just a really strange perfectionist. That's all that's going on there. In fact, when I was with iWake, one of the reasons why I decided to leave is because I wanted to get rid of most of the catalog and start all over again. Just it's not a great business move because I don't think in terms of practical business all the time. I think in terms of having this sense of a standard that I want all my products to set. Prana Heart's great, but I personally didn't think it was as powerful as Catalyst. So I thought, well, I want everything to be as strong as Catalyst. And I want everything to be as palpable as Catalyst moving forward. So I'm just going to remove my back catalog and start afresh. That really was my thing, and that's I didn't feel that if I shared this with everybody that everybody would understand. And in fact, here I am telling you this, and I imagine there's going to be a lot of people who still don't understand, and will probably say it's not a very good business move. I don't always think in terms of business, and I am sorry that when I did that in any way it should inspire you to distrust me. Part of my brand is that mystery. You never really understand what I'm doing or why I'm doing it unless I tell you forthright, you know. But I've found in my life that part of what works for me is me allowing this guidance that's guiding me, my own indwelling spirit, to make these decisions, just to allow it and not always try to explain it, because sometimes explaining it can get in the way and actually cause people to think other things. If I had tried to give this explanation back then, it's possible someone would have made something else out of it. I don't know if you've noticed, but there seems to be this pattern of I say something and it gets misunderstood, and I have to clear up the misunderstanding because what I said is not someone thinks I said is not actually what I meant. So, for example, with that previous Facebook post where Sharon thought I was saying that heart wave interferes with heart activation, it was just a typo. So, I hope that explains it. If you are still displeased, I really apologize, Sharon, and I hope, I wish you the best, whatever you decide to do. And the third question is...
Eric, before you read that third question, do you mind if I just mention something following what you just said?
Sure.
Well, it's interesting because if you look at different industries and subtle energy, tech is a technology, and technologies always evolve. If you look at something like Apple with their product, the iPhone, you don't really see the first generation iPhone for sale on the Apple website or in the Apple stores. Why is that? What? It's because things have been improved and they're keeping that standard, like you said. And I don't know if they announced to their customers, why they don't sell the first generation iPhone, but it could be sort of obvious in the context of that particular technology. And in different industries, it's a very commonplace thing that happens.
I appreciate you saying that, Joshua. Yeah, I mean, I'm really innovation, pushing the envelope. Those are themes that are always ever present with me. And part of that means going back and getting rid of old things I've done because they no longer represent this new standard. Now, I'll have other people say, well, to me, Prana Heart does. That's just part of my perfectionistic, way of seeing things. Sometimes I will see something as not being perfect, and other people say, man, this is great. This is perfect as it is. What's wrong with you? Why did you take it off the market? I've even had, Jason, who's Joshua's business partner, has said the same thing to me. So it's not uncommon for people to wonder why I do those kinds of things. But just getting back to Sharon, I assure you, it's not because I'm trying to be deceptive or mean or uncaring. It's just, part of that perfectionistic um, sense of pushing the envelope and always wanting to make sure that everything I have out there in the public statement is representative of that to the best of my ability. So, um, okay, so and then one more question. Well, I've got one question here from Carla Royal. She asks, do you all know if the audio mandalas are more powerful than the visual mandalas? And what she's asking here is, as you know, we have the whole product um, uh, series of the digital energy mandalas. And then we also have the energetically encoded audios, but the audio, like Shanti, also comes with its own version of a mandala. And what it ends at, the reason why the audios are more expensive than if you were to buy a mandala by itself is because the audios are they're much more highly amplified than the mandalas. As I've explained before, if I were to take the time to amplify all those mandalas to get them so strong that they just blew your socks off when you only opened one, if I did that, I'd have to raise the price of them incredibly high because it would literally take me about a month just to create one mandala to get the signature that fat and that amplified. And so I'd have to charge hundreds of dollars just for one mandala. And I wanted to keep them inexpensive, so the way I do it is I get them to a nice individual level of what I feel like is a nice individual level of amplification, and then, but without spending any more time on it and thus making the price higher. And then what I do is I give you instructions how to amplify the energy in those mandalas so that you can get it as strong as you want for your purposes. Now for me, I often, especially the new mandalas, and by the way, the announcement we have for tonight is that anyone who's an existing owner of the Higher Mind mandala series, we've just upgraded it and we've added a new mandala to the series, and you're going to get that all for free tomorrow. I'm going to send out a link tomorrow. There's a new mandala added to that series called Empathy, but they're far stronger and the energy's far smoother than ever. And that's why I keep redoing all these technologies and all these products, because I keep wanting to bring them up to a new standard. But this this new Higher Mind series that I'll be releasing tomorrow, like I said, existing owners will get the upgrade for free, including the new mandala that's added, and it really represents that new standard. Really, I don't see myself having to improve these anytime in the near future. I want to bring everything else in the catalog up to the standard of these. These are great. Everybody who's been giving feedback on them has been incredibly happy with them. So that's with the mandalas. Now, with the audios, I spend more time amplifying those, which is why I tend to charge more money for them. And once I get that signature nice and fat for the audio, I can then take it and like for the Shanti audio, I can then take it that really highly amplified audio signature and I can put it into the Shanti mandala such that the mandala that accompanies the energetically encoded audio is almost always going to be stronger than the regular mandalas that you would get if you were to just buy a mandala by itself. That's why there's such a price difference between the two products. And I hope that answers your question. We got any more questions, Josh?
No, I'm not seeing any more questions yet on any of the places where questions would be. It's been kind of a little bit of a quiet night today in terms of people chatting. But if anyone who's on the video here wants to, unmute yourself and
I'm happy to speak with any of you.
We've had about 50 viewers the whole video today, and right now we have about 47, 46.
Okay, well, I wish you guys weren't so shy. Come out, come out. Hello.
Octave
Hello.
amplification of
Hello.
the
Can you
field.
hear me? Do you have a question? Who am I speaking to?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, fantastic. All right, I don't need to type then. Okay, I had a follow-up question in the things because it's great to hear about the amplification of the field, especially for the bio and all the chakras being involved together and being but have you got any results back in the sense of, well, it's great to have this amplification of your product, being, but what the correlation of amplification effect on the result coming back? It's like sort of, how would you say, an echo. You shout something into the chasm, and then, of course, like any energy field, in a sense, it's going to respond. And so I was thinking, in a sense, is it, say, in a matter of volume? So you shout really loud, in
Yeah.
a sense. Will it come back just as equal, in a sense, from your own field on that? Or is it like a little quieter? Or is it actually a little
So,
louder?
well, okay. Let me see if the question's a little confusing for me. So, are you asking if you amplify the energy of the mandala on your computer,
Yeah,
um, will it have a corresponding powerful effect on your biofield?
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, but
Yeah,
is the ratio like 1 to 1? So let's say
yeah,
you
absolutely.
double
It's
the,
1 to 1.
it's what? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. There's no diminishing returns.
All right.
Um, if we had enough RAM to open up 10,000 copies of the higher mind mandalas on your computer, trust me, you would realize it's
Pretty
there's no
heady.
dimin. Yeah, it's really strong. And in
In other words,
fact,
you could probably feel
we've
my
had
presence
very
where you
sensitive
are.
people. We've had some people who don't even have to amplify it that much. I know one person wrote and said he just printed 3 copies of the golden proportion mandala, and it was so strong for him, he just wasn't used to that kind of energy. It actually kind of scared him. So,
Wow. Yeah.
um, you know, um, just keep amplifying it until you get the right amplitude for you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. Um,
And I encourage you to use the prints because they're a lot stronger than you might think. So you can print out multiple copies of the printed mandalas, double-sided, stack them back to back, put them in a folder, set them on your cushion
mhm.
or your mattress or your pillow, and the energy is quite strong.
Okay. So what's the difference between having it just electronically? Say you have 5 different image programs open, and then that way, you have that going. That's like 5 times 1, correct? And so that would just affect you like 5 times more.
When you say 5 image programs, I'm not sure what you mean by
Well,
that.
you say 5 different windows having the mandalas open. So, like, for
Yeah, but
instance,
you don't need five different image programs to do that. Um, all you need is
probably this, like, let's say Photoshop or
yeah. Well,
Paint.Pro,
no, you don't even
and
need
just have
Photoshop. You don't even need
five
Photoshop.
copies and 5 windows open.
Yeah, just yeah, 5 windows. It's just
Okay.
well, I just want to make that clear for anyone who hasn't already heard this because I don't want to give them the false impression that you've got to actually have 5 different types of software.
No,
You
no,
don't.
no,
You
no.
don't.
But any
Um,
of it, most of it's free anyway.
yeah, but it's all free. It's
Yeah.
all free. So you just use like Windows 10. I use the Photos function, but I
Hmm.
also use Windows Photo Viewer,
Right.
um, and it comes with the earlier versions of Windows.
Yeah.
And yeah, so if you've got 5 open, then it's been amplified
Yeah. I think I'd be
four
totally.
times.
I like be like totally mellow if I had that patience Mandela on like several times
Okay.
on my tablet. Um,
Oh,
I,
good.
as I said in my post, it was like that. I've been having a lot of trouble with my Android. It's a Galaxy 10.1, so it's like 6 years old. But I don't have money to upgrade, and I need to get my technology up in a sense to root this darn thing and put something that's better. But in a sense, though, I keep getting the error messages. Now, of course, when you're working in a flow and you're working on whatever you're doing, minimizing interruptions, and you keep getting these pop-up errors coming, of course, this is going to create a little bit of frustration. I'm a
Yeah.
redhead, so yeah, there is a bit of a temper there. So it's like
Oh, I
it
get
gets
it.
after coming up like 20 messages, and you're like waiting as many as 5 minutes for it to close down the error message for you, because you're saying, do you want to close this down? And I say, yeah. And you wait 5 minutes until that message disappears, and you find out there's more in the background. So in other words, in a way, is that you get to the point where you just want to throw the darn tablet out. And then I said, I put the patient's mandala on. It's pretty with the teal and the aquamarine and the purple in there, so it's this lavender, so it's very calming. That's another question I had for you in a moment that I had put in my email to you. We'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, the effect on me was surprising in a sense. I was taking my time, and I was getting through it, and I wasn't grunting and cursing that much, and hey, nothing's different except for this background, maybe, and that's only just one. So who knows, maybe I should be putting like a lot more if I go to work for a difficult boss, and then they'll be like, okay, sure, you want that now, okay, I'll work on it. Consider it done. So
That's great.
another thing, though, is that you said, of course, it's the energy. It's not the image itself
Yes.
that's imprinted into the pixels of the image, or into the paper molecules imprinted. It's that
Yeah.
energy. And so I was thinking, in a sense, is that at night or whatever, because that has like cool colors to it. The thing is, there's now software, in a sense, to filter out your blue light on your screen or something, so that it helps you get into nighttime mode with your brain. It shuts off creating more melatonin
Okay.
during the daytime to keep you awake and alert, and so you start getting into this sort of sleepy mode, in a sense. If you're working in warm colors at night, it sort of tells your brain, okay, it's nighttime now, it's time to go to sleep. It helps with circadian rhythms. And so I was thinking, no matter like other technology, in a sense, would other software or filters have an effect on the energy that's being emanated by that mandala?
Oh, they shouldn't. I mean,
Okay.
I haven't tested it, but I'd be surprised if they did. I'd be, they
Okay.
shouldn't. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And alluding to one of your earlier questions, concerning the colors, I've had somebody ask before, are the colors contributing to the energy? Well, color does contribute to energy,
Oh
but
yeah,
I had
psychology,
some
but it's not
people,
big.
uh, but the truth is, yeah, the effect is probably not that big compared to the
Hmm.
actual energy.
Exactly.
What I do is when like you talked about the patient's mandala, I specifically colored that to match the energy that I had already created,
Hmm.
not the other way around.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
so uh, uh, because it's just more congruent. If I'd have put a big old yellow sun there with a guy bench pressing 300 pounds or running his dog or jumping up and saying "Yay!" that might not have fit with the
The theme,
patient's theme.
exactly. It
So
might be a
it was just more or less being congruent with the mind, so the mind didn't say "What? What's going on there?"
yeah.
Um, yeah, so one of my favorite sayings, and it's just me being silly. When people ask me about this, is and Michael Marino brought it up the last time, was in truth, we could just take a picture of cat poop and put the energy in there, and it's going to be the same. I mean, that's I do that because it's like, wow, that okay. It kind of gets the point across because it
Yeah.
really doesn't matter what's in the actual image per
Hmm.
se. The energy comes first,
Hmm.
and
Exactly.
we use the mandala images. Um, Really, I use that because in the beginning, I started creating the mandalas, and that was really the only way. I'm more of a graphic designer, so that
Hmm.
was really the only way I could express myself artistically in a nice way that people liked.
Right.
So that's why I started using the mandalas as the focal point, but it's not the mandala design per se that's producing the energy.
Yeah. Can you give us a little bit in behind the scenes on how you do this energy imprint when you're working with a digital image?
Sort of. Yeah, I can give you the basic rundown. So
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it will all make sense. But so what I do, let's say that you wanted me to capture the energy of um, the pyramids of Giza. Okay,
Ooh,
so
okay.
what I would do now, what I there's two ways to do it. The first thing I would do is I'd go there personally if I could, and or I'd get somebody to. Actually, I'd just go there, and I'd take a recorder with me,
Mm-hmm.
right? And here's what I would do. I would it could be any type of recorder. It could be a tape recorder. It could be a video recorder, and I would just turn it on for about 30 seconds while I'm inside the pyramid
Mm-hmm.
and outside it, and then I turn it off. That's all I do. And what happens is all subtle energy can be recorded.
Right. You're getting that off the pyramids themselves.
Yeah, you're getting it off the pyramids. But what ends up happening is the resulting signal is really weak.
Mm-hmm.
So if you play it back, nobody's going to feel anything.
Right.
So what I do is I developed a. Now another way to do that would be for me to just take. I could take a picture. I can just take a picture of the internet, and that's another way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because what ends up happening, I don't know if you remember. Oh, have you ever heard any stories of Native Americans saying that, in when they first saw cameras, they didn't like to have their pictures taken?
Yes, that they feel that it's stealing their soul. In a
Exactly.
matter of taking a part of that energy and imprinting it onto silver nitrate.
Exactly, because essentially what happens is even with digital cameras, a part of your hologram is captured in that
Mm-hmm.
picture. Now, how does that happen? Well, I don't have an articulate, very sophisticated scientific way of explaining it, and I'm not sure it can be proven scientifically. But the way I understand that this is happening is essentially, when a camera takes a picture, it is emitting some type of photons
Mm-hmm.
that interact with the field of the thing that's being uh, captured in the picture, and then those same photons were reflected back to the camera. So
Right,
essentially,
exactly.
what's happening is light is interacting with the energetic essence of the thing that's being captured in the photo, such that when you take the photo, you're actually capturing some of its energetic
Mm-hmm.
essence. Um,
I can see though the advantage of actually being there, because that way if you could sort of translate the emotion behind, like if you were in one of the seven wonders of the world, you're going to have sort of an otherworldly type of expanding type of perception of the moment that you're experiencing, and it's sort of a bit of a heady moment. The only thing I could probably compare it to is probably when we changed the millennium from 1999 to 2000, and there was this 25-hour marathon in a sense, and so the feeling of that we were all one and connected when they were showing different celebrations across the world in real time, and being part of that from 5 o'clock in the morning to the following day, and being able to witness that. You're witnessing the millennium. you know
sure, sure.
so like going to one of the seven wonders of the world, there is that sort of feeling, and that is energy too that's emanating from most likely your heart chakra,
Yeah, the energy
and
is
so
going to
you
be a
want to
lot
imprint
stronger
that.
if you're there in person, sure. But like I said, even if I captured it on the digital uh,
Hmm.
capture, it's going to be weak. So it really doesn't matter, to be honest with
Hmm.
you. Taking a picture is just as effective, believe it or not.
But your artistic graphic design will probably come in a matter of trying to express that emotion too
Yeah, sure.
in that mental. Yeah.
Well, essentially what I do. So like I said, I could either go there in person, but because Well, that might not fit my schedule, or might not be
Mhm.
convenient. I can just use a picture. So what I would do then is I also have as I said, I had developed a proprietary software for this purpose. And what I do is I would import essentially that picture into the software, and I'd extract that signature. Uh, now, again, just to give a little context for this, the idea that subtle energy can be captured on pictures and other types of recording equipment is well established. It's
Mhm.
well established in paranormal science and in subtle energy science.
Right.
So, for examples, you might. I like to bring up an example that some people think is kind of kooky. If you've ever heard of the uh, uh, what is it called? The electronic voice phenomena,
Yes.
and that's where uh, they use different types of boxes, and now they have these digital types that will you, you ask a question in the room, and you'll hear a static voice come over, like there's something in the room answering you,
Yeah.
and often the answers are intelligible, and they're not just coincidences. There's something in that room, a
Mhm.
subtle energy or entity that is interacting with that recording device, and it's getting
Exactly.
recorded on that device. And there's actually I forget the name of it. There's a well documented scientific study of this done in England. A
Oh,
lot of
that's
people don't know about. I forget what it's called. It's called the something studies. Starts with an S, and they they did all kinds of controls, and the Rupert Sheldrake was even there, and he gave a stamp of approval that this was not being faked. And so this is just one of many evidences that subtle phenomena can be recorded on modern recorders. And if you think about it, um, there's really not anything out of the ordinary with that if you're familiar with the various spiritual traditions, because in the various spiritual traditions, there's an aspect of the spirit that's recording everything all the
exactly.
time. And the Hindus call it the Akashic records. Um, the Christians call it the Book of Life. Your name's written in the Book of Life, right? Everything's recorded. Um, when you have a near-death experience, you go through a life review because everything inside your spirit has recorded everything you've ever done, and not only what you've done, but how it's affected other people from their perspective. It's all recorded, and um, you get that playback when you die. There have been people who've died several times, and they get it every time they die and come back. Um, so again, this idea of recording these types of subtle energies is really not anything out of the ordinary. It's not.
No,
It just
no, it
seems to
doesn't
be.
matter.
So what I do is then I import that picture into the software, extract the energy from it, and then
Hmm.
I amplify it millions and even billions of times until the signal's nice and fat, and then we're able to embed that into digital audio, digital pictures, video, and even physical objects.
Great. Well, thank you
Yeah,
for answering that.
you're welcome. Thank you for the question. I really appreciate it. Uh,
Anytime.
anybody have any questions? Mitch Mahoney says surfing is worth the hassle of learning it. Great metaphor. Yeah, I've got to learn. I'm afraid I would not look too good out there. And from what I understand, you can't really go surfing in California because the real surfer dudes out there don't want you to cheat them from their waves. Any
Just
more questions, guys?
just paddling out is enough fun on its own anyway.
Sure, sure. I'm sure I'd enjoy that.
um, Someone's asking, is this just a Q&A or is this an actual webinar? So somebody jumped on Liz.
Actually, we already did the live meditation. We already did that, and so now we're in the Q&A section.
and you'll be able to go back and watch the video.
That's right. We'll have a playback for you immediately after the webinar tonight. My cat is rolling over in his back, getting his tummy rubbed on my desk right now. Okay, guys. Well, I'm not seeing any more messages. I don't want to keep you all. I'm happy to stay and answer any questions, but if that's all, I'm going to bid you good night.
Thank you, Eric.
Hey, you're very welcome. Sorry for that microphone bang there. It's my cat.
No problem.
So be blessed, you all. Take care.
Night.
Bye-bye.
Aloha.